محمد رسول الله محمد رسول الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hadith number 36 in our series Al-Arba een An-Nawawiyyah is a long hadith again, and it is filled with lessons to be learnt. The hadith was narrated by Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him. He said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever relieves a Muslim of some distress in this world, Allah will relieve him of some distress on the day of resurrection. Whoever is easygoing with a debtor who is facing hardship, Allah will make it easy for him in this world and in the hereafter. And whoever conceals a Muslim, Allah will conceal his faults in this world and in the hereafter. And Allah will help his slave so long as his slave is helping his brother. And whoever follows a path to seek knowledge, Allah will make it easy for him a path to paradise. Whenever people gather together in one of the houses of Allah, reciting the book of Allah and studying it among themselves, then sakeenah, that is tranquility, will descend upon them. Mercy will envelop them, and the angels would surround them. And Allah mentions them among those who are with him. And whoever is slowed down by his actions will not be hastened forward by his lineage. And this was reported by Imam Muslim in the Sahih. What a beautiful hadith. The hadith highlights deeds and their rewards. And nothing draws people to do good things better and more beloved than showing them the reward. Yes, it's true. The majority of us are not driven by reward, rather by fear. But there are people who have high spirits and would adhere more to the reward rather than the fear. The majority of the human race, if you wish, the majority of the Muslims, if you tell them, if you do this and that, I will give you this much, the majority would not be inclined to react out of laziness, out of disbelief or uncertainty. Okay, I relate to what you say, but I don't see the reward. Yes, if the reward is here and in front of them, they would hasten to it. But when it comes to Jannah, you did not see Jannah, you did not see paradise. It's all unseen to you. So it depends on your conviction and on the level of Iman that drives you to work. If I put a sack of money and say, listen, if you pray 2 rak'ahs now, I'll give you this money, you'll immediately do it. But when I tell you I'm going to build you a house, a palace that is a brick of gold and a brick of silver, and that the rivers gush underneath, honey, milk, and you would have this and that, you're a bit inclined to do it. Why? Because you don't see it in front of you. And that is why the believers are praised by Allah, because they believe in the unseen. However, when it comes to intimidation, fear, threatening, the majority of Muslims would stop. Why? Because they fear the punishment. So, in this beautiful hadith, the Prophet judgment is an awful thing, something that is shocking. On that day, a nursing woman would leave nursing her child, and a pregnant woman would drop her load because of the fear of that day. It's a horrible day. So you have to prepare for it, and that is why the Prophet is telling us, these are the steps for relieving yourself from some of the hardship of that day. First of all, he's telling us to relieve Muslims from their distress as much as possible. And this is a fact, that the reward or the punishment is in accordance to the deed itself. So if you do well, you'll be rewarded as much. And if you do bad, then you would be punished as much. And in Arabic it's called al-jaza min jins al-amal. And it is from the same type. You do well to someone, you're good to him, Allah Azza wa Jal will be good to you in the same fashion. And the Day of Judgment is a day of reckoning. So you should see on that day all what you have done in this life. And that is why you try your level best not to save, not to store anything that is unpleasant to see on the Day of Judgment. Relieve a Muslim from some of his distress. Allah would relieve you from some of the distress on the Day of Resurrection. 2, relieve a debtor who is in hardship. Someone who took a loan or someone who has difficulty. If you relieve him from his difficulty, in this case, Allah Azza wa Jal would give you 2 rewards, one in this life and one in the hereafter. The Prophet says, alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah would make it easy for you in this life and the hereafter. And how is it that we can make things easy on a person who has hardship? If it is financial hardship, if he borrowed money from us, there are 2 things we can do. Either to delay him and postpone him by saying, Akhi, you should have paid today, I'll give you another year. Or better more, to forgive him totally by saying, listen, the money you took last year or 5 years ago and you're unable to pay it back, it's a gift from me. Forget it, don't even mention it. And this is the best you can do to someone like this. What is the reward? Subhanallah. On the Day of Judgment, in the hereafter, the reward is unimaginable. The Prophet tells us, alayhi salam, that there was a man who was brought up in front of Allah for reckoning. And Allah told him, did you do anything good in your life? And the man says, I don't recall anything good that I have done in my life. I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner. I don't remember anything good, except I used to lend people money, or I used to sell them on credit. And then I would dispatch my servants and my boys, and I tell them, whoever you go to and find that he has money, take it. But if they don't have money and they have some sort of difficulty, then postpone them, delay them, forgive them. He's an easygoing person. Allah the Almighty looks at him and says, because you have done what you had done, we are more, Allah says, we are more worthy to forgive you than you forgiving those. And Allah forgives his sins. Just because he used to postpone or delay or forgive the debtors who are unable to pay. So it is a great deal to do this when you have money. Either forgive, or if you don't want to forgive or let the money go, you have a second option, which is postpone them, delay them a year, 2, 5, 10, until they're able to pay off. This is the reward in the hereafter. But what about the reward in this life? I'd like to see something tangible. I'd like to see it. Well, the Prophet tells us, alayhi salatu wasalam, whoever lends someone silver twice, so you give someone 1,000 euros and he returns it. After a few months, he asks for it again, so you give him 1,000 euro and he returns it. You lent the same amount twice. And the money is in your pocket. It's been given back to you. The Prophet ﷺ says that this is equivalent to giving it in charity once. What kind of investment that has such returns? You invest 100% and you get 50% as profit. This is extraordinary. You think? Well, listen to this other hadith. The Prophet says, alayhi salatu wasalam, whoever postpones a debtor in hardship. Now the first example, you give someone €1,000, you take it back. You give someone €1,000, you take it back. This is equivalent to €1,000 in charity, and the money is in your pocket. The second example, which is a mind blower, the Prophet says, alayhi salam, if you give someone money and you know that he does not have money to return it back, but you give him a debt and you postpone him, and the man says, listen, I'll give you the money in a month's time, and the month comes, the deadline is due, and the man says, I don't have money. So you postpone him to another date, to another deadline, let's say another month. The Prophet says that this second postponement, the second month, every single day, Allah would reward you the reward of paying the amount as charity. So if I gave him €1,000 and a month passed and he apologizes and says, can you extend me? So I gave him another month. This other month, every single day, I'm getting €1,000 as charity recorded to my account. Wow, 100% per day. This means that €30,000 charity for €1,000 in his hand. And if the month is over and I go to the man and say, give me my money back, please, and he says, wallahi, I don't have. So you postpone him. Now this is the third time you postpone him. The Prophet says, alayhi salam, for every single day, you get twice the charity. So now the third month would be, instead of €30,000 for €1,000, it would be €60,000. And no bank can ever offer such a percentage. And this shows us that if we have access of money, lending it to people whom we trust they will do their best to give it back. I would not lend it to crooks and thieves. I'm trying my best to utilize my money. Give it to those who are in need, who I trust that they'll do their level best to return it back. Lending it to them is better than leaving it in the bank. Lending it to them is better than them going to someone else and borrowing it from, while I am losing the investment and the return on my cash. A person can also have hardship other than financial. So if a person has another type of hardship that I can help him with, then again this is very positive. Remember, you're rewarded twice, in this life and in the hereafter as well. Then the Prophet goes, alayhi salam, on encouraging us to conceal the shortcomings of our brother Muslims. How is this done? Well, concealing the shortcomings can be positive and can be negative. How do we differentiate? This is what we'll find after the break, so stay tuned. Allahu, Allahu, ya Rabbi, ya Allah. Allahu, Allahu, ya Rabbi, ya Allah. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. How do we conceal someone's shortcomings? Well, this is a very important question. A lot of us are professionals in exposing our brothers' shortcomings. You find so many people having this problem of loving to discredit others. And we get a lot of such hate mail from people. Oh, you're TV stars, you're big-headed, you're so-called da'is or scholars, you have this and this and this and this, and they make it public and they make an issue out of it, and they go out and sending emails and writing articles. For what? Simply for discrediting people. Now, you have to draw the line. There is a difference between advising and exposing. As Imam Shafi'i said, when you want to advise someone, make it personal. Because if you advise someone in public, this is slandering. This is exposing him. And human nature rejects this. No one accepts this. Now, we're not saying that you should conceal what is wrong and what is harmful for the public, but we have to weigh the consequences, the pros and the cons. If you're concealing a robbery, if you're concealing something that is harmful for the community, if you know that there is a terrorist or a group of terrorists plotting to blow up a building, a restaurant, to harm others, Muslims or non-Muslims alike, if you know that they're going to do this something which is awful and bad, it is sinful upon you to conceal it. On the contrary, you'll be a partner in it, because you did not forbid evil. You did not stop this act from happening. Therefore, concealing such shortcomings is not something that Islam praises or advocates. If you see someone who is about to kill someone, or he's about to rob a bank, and you said, oh, may Allah forgive my brother, I'll conceal that. This is not permissible. But when you see someone who is practicing, who's righteous, or he's a normal Muslim who is not known for doing any bad acts, but you see him smoke, or you see him going out with a woman, or drinking, or doing some sort of a sin, and he's not doing it publicly. He's concealing it and nobody knows about it except you. It is forbidden for you to go out and to talk to people and say, I saw brother so-and-so, I saw sister so-and-so do this or that. This is something between them and Allah. And Allah concealed it, and only you were exposed to it. It is forbidden for you to come out and say that I'm going to do that, or I'm going to expose that person. And this does not mean that I should conceal that which is wrong. For example, if a da'i, if a scholar, if a student of knowledge, if they say something that is wrong publicly, I may denounce that publicly and clarify it to the masses that this statement is wrong. It goes against the Quran, the Sunnah, or it goes against the understanding of the Salaf. But I don't have to be rude. I don't have to make a scene out of it. I don't have to be impolite. I would simply say that the brother, and I acknowledge that he did a lot of good things, he made a mistake in this issue, and maybe he was not aware of it, maybe he was neglectful, maybe this or that, but the truth is 1, 2, 3. So I clarify this. But to go and slander him and make an issue out of it, and I go and track his record in all of his books and videotapes and audio, and say he said this on the particular day, and make him worse than the Nazis, make him worse than Hitler, this is unacceptable and it is inappropriate. This is not the Islamic ethics. People neglect how soft and kind the Prophet was, ﷺ, leaving the Prophet ﷺ's beautiful example in advising people. In the hadith, the Prophet says, ﷺ, Allah would be in your assistance as long as you assist your fellow Muslim. So you can take this as the previous hadith we've mentioned earlier, وَاللَّهِ لَا يُؤْمِنُ أَحَدُكُمْ حَتَّى يُحِبَّ لِأَخِيهِ مَا يُحِبُّ لِنَفْسِهِ. One of you would not attain Iman until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. This is the same. You being in the assistance of your brother, Allah will assist you. Of course, will assist you if you assist your brother in means or in ways of goodness, not assisting him in evil, as we described that before. The Prophet tells us about, ﷺ, those who seek a path of knowledge, how Allah Azza wa Jal would interpret this into a way of paradise. So the more you are struggling and studying hard to acquire Islamic knowledge of the Quran, Sunnah, Fiqh, Hadith, etc., Allah would pave a way for you to paradise. And then the Prophet ﷺ highlights the beauty of studying the Quran, learning and reciting it in a masjid. And this is one of the great deeds that a lot of the Muslims have neglected. With the internet, with social networks, they've neglected staying in the masjid and learning more and more about it. Well, the Prophet tells us that whenever they gather, the sakina, the tranquility would descend, and Allah would envelop them in His mercy, and they will be surrounded by the angels. Not only that, the greatest reward is Allah would mention them in the presence He's in. So the angels would listen to Allah praising and mentioning these people who are studying the Quran in the masjid. And this is a great reward. And from this hadith we know that there are angels that Allah Azza wa Jal created them to help and to assist the believers, the humans. And the angels we know are created from light. And finally the Prophet says alayhi salam, that after all of this, be mindful of the fact that what counts on the Day of Judgment is not your lineage, but it is your deeds. And that is why the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam, whoever deeds are not hastening him to paradise, then his lineage would not benefit him. And that is why sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to Fatima bint Muhammad, to Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib, to all of his next of kin and close ones, ask me for whatever you want of money, because on the Day of Judgment I will not benefit you the least. So being from a decent lineage or from a reputable family does not have any effect on you on the Day of Judgment. What helps, what counts are your deeds. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu, Allahu, ya Rabbi, ya Allah. Allahu, ya Rabbi, ya Allah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadun Rasulullah. Muhammadun Rasulullah. أرجو رضاك يا الله، أنت الرحيم يا الله، هبني عطاك يا الله، أنت الكريم.